Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to y'all.
This is cool, Sean. Thanks for putting this together, my man.
Oh, my
Yes,
pleasure.
thank you for having us on.
Been wanting to do this for quite a long time, actually, so this is really cool.
Fantastic.
Gotta set your sights higher, my dude.
Prepare to be disappointed.
Not even close, guys. Not even close. I love your humility, though. So, how's everything? Are you in Omaha right now, Aleks?
I am. We are now basically living in a state wherein you can't actually leave the country. So I have paltry little choice. I've gone out to visit Pat a couple times, and that has been a nice little interlude away from the cornfields. But
I miss those cornfields, though. They're great.
yeah, well, I actually don't see them very much because my navigation of Omaha is so limited. It's like my apartment, the gym, the grocery store, and then occasionally like the family's house or something like that.
That's right.
That's about the extent of it. So
I dig it. Yeah, I grew up. I think we talked about this 2 podcasts ago, Aleks. I was at 120th and Center. Mm-hmm. I spent most of my.
I can't give away my exact location, but I can definitely say it's not too far from there.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's a good bar town. I like it. And
yeah, for sure. You can literally do a bar crawl, meaning crawl from one bar to the next, and you're not going to be overextending yourself.
I dig it. It's already recording. I mean, we can start right now, or we can cover some topics. Whatever's good for you guys.
Let's just do it. Let's just riff. Unless Aleks is scared.
Are you scared?
I'm not afraid. I was actually going to say, Pat is probably scared of anybody.
Alex, I see you. I see you're shivered and shaking over there.
Oh, I love it. Widgety. That's fun. We'll just start. Guys, welcome back to the show. Aleks Salkin, the Hebrew Hammer, Pat Flynn for like the 50th time. Stoked to have you guys back on the show.
The big boys.
The big boys are back in town.
He's going to do it. I hope he does. I love it. Well, all right. So you guys are doing a lot of cool stuff. We'll definitely get to your podcast seminar tomorrow, right? Or is a masterclass is coming up here pretty soon, Pat, and then your strength stuff. So a lot of fun stuff to chat about. Let's see. First off, what are you guys jamming on? What are you working on music-wise?
Oh, yeah, Aleks, I've seen you've been ripping it on the bass lately, my man. I always try to bug him to bring the bass out when he comes to visit, but he has failed on just about every occasion. Not a whole lot since we last spoke, Sean. I still have a few tracks on the old computer. I could actually use some bass tracks to him, honestly. So it's Alex's fault that I'm held up on the production schedule here.
Blame the Jews. This is a pretty common refrain. I'm used to it by now.
Well, I think it'd be kind of fun to put out a riff in like bass line, guitar riff, and jam on it.
That'd be cool. Yeah. So for like the 5 people that have listened to my songs on SoundCloud, thank you. That the whole thing is it's kind of quilted together. I did the guitar work and kind of wrote the general structure of the songs, but everything else is just outsourced. Other musicians filling in the missing instruments.
Really?
Yep. So I just hire people on like freelance websites to sing or to program some of the drums or stuff like that. So the internet's a cool place for sure. Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. I was wondering how you got your drums in there.
Ain't me. Ain't me. I don't play drums. I'm not that much of a generalist.
That would be pretty impressive. Uh-huh. Wow. So is it like Fiverr or other places where you're like, hey, I need some double bass for a metal riff?
Yeah, so Fiverr, you brought up the singer that I have. So if you listen to a few tracks, that is not, some people thought that was me singing. Very, very flattering. Definitely not me singing. That's a Fiverr guy. That's just some, like, literally go into Fiverr. I'm like, rock and roll singer. Type it in. And, you can, like, sample people's demo tracks. I'm like, I think this guy would be good. I sent him the tracks, and he said he thought he could do it, and he actually really didn't like what he did. He was kind of very apologetic, because he's kind of like more of the singer that I hired. He's kind of more of a singer songwriter, and I'm kind of sending him some pretty heavy tunes. Mm-hmm. But I thought he did a good job.
I thought so too. I thought it was you, but
not me.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I trained a guy who moved here from Chicago, and he was a frontman. I don't get to say frontman very often. He was a frontman for a cover group. Like they do Fish and Metallica and like Primus and some pretty fun stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'll recommend that to him to to try and find some people to work with?
Yeah, it's affordable. It's good. I mean, you help out musicians, you know, who might be in between gigs or something like that. So it's a win-win.
Oh, for sure. Really cool. Awesome.
And since you're in charge, you can make them sing about any stupid thing you want. Just write like the craziest lyrics.
Yeah.
Alex would be. I'm sure Alex would come up with something creative.
I would love that. Actually, I'm thinking right now of ways to do that because periodically, like,
sing about this soup can and make it super metal.
yeah, I like to come up with like just silly lyrics or silly like turns of phrase and stuff like that. And I feel like you would have to include in the notes. Make sure you record your reaction upon reading this as well as singing it, because you want to put that up on your YouTube just to be like, you know, it's like extra material. Like you're trolling the singer, and then he gives you what you asked for, and next thing you know, you're like, I'm getting a call, so I'm a little bit distracted. But anyway, next thing you know, you're like, okay, this is actually what you're really going to be singing. So now we've got the comedy side of it, and then we got like the serious side of it. So
Right.
you can have a little extra fun.
Well, I'm going to do that next time because all the songs, all the lyrics were written by this guy. So I honestly don't even know what they are. I didn't really care. I'm not trying to make like a statement in that department. What I'm going to do is I'm literally going to have like my 5 or 6 year old next time just write the lyrics, and whatever they come up with, I'm going to be like, this is what you have to sing.
Oh, that's so good. You know, I had Jonathan Goodman on a month or two ago. He's got a 4-year-old boy, Calvin. He sings about poop a lot. So he had some really good lyrics going, you know?
Sounds above most of popular level music today.
Give that kid a record contract.
No kidding.
Calvin with all the poop lyrics. It's hilarious. Well, that's really entertaining. I dig it. Well, you inspired me, Pat. I actually put my guitar amp here and I mic'd it, and I was recording myself last night jamming. Zoom is horrible for recording audio. It's horrible.
It is.
Yeah. But do the best we can.
Cool, man. That's good. I look forward to hearing it.
For sure. We can, if we get squirrely later, we can get on the podcast.
Heck yeah. I'm looking at my guitar right there. I could
Really?
almost reach it. Got to do a little force pull and I would have it. But yeah.
How about you? You got your bass round?
It's in my bedroom. I'm in my living room right now, so it's not exactly handy. But yeah, so I'm gonna have to quash your jam session idea just because I'm too lazy to get up and grab it.
Oh, clearly lazy.
Yes.
All right. So fill me in, Pat. You have got a podcasting masterclass coming up. What's this all about?
Yeah, so this is something that people have asked me to do for a while, and I've put it off. Well, I'll be honest. I'll put it off for the obvious reason because there's this other Pat Flynn on the internet. We call him Fake Pat Flynn. And yeah, Aleks knows who I'm talking about. This rogue scoundrel who goes around using my good name.
How dare he be born with the same name?
I mean, it's so unbelievably arrogant. Every day I just wake up in such a rage.
Didn't you say you were going to have him on your podcast at one point?
We did like go back and forth a little bit with scheduling, and it just never worked out. I'll be honest, like he seems like a perfectly nice guy, but there's just nothing I would really have to talk to him about. Like I don't follow him. People say good things about his podcast. So this is the Smart Passive Income Pat Flynn, right? And he talks a lot about podcasting. So I'm like, I don't need to do another thing that's just going to add to the confusion between the Pat Flynns, but I'm actually teaching a course on podcasting at a college now. I'm officially a professor, I guess. The college I did my master's program at was like desperate for somebody to do a course on social media. And so I'm like, well, I got to put together this curriculum anyways. And people have been asking me to do a podcasting masterclass. So I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. So I'm just kind of, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So what I'll be teaching the college students, I'm just going to repurpose a little bit and add some business focus elements to it for anybody who wants to learn how to start and grow a podcast. And we'll be kicking that off next week. We'll go through branding, marketing, set up, try to keep it, as inexpensive as possible, how to come up with podcast ideas, the basics.
That's going to be so helpful. I would have taken this course. I might even still take the course.
Dude, I'll put you in it for sure.
Oh, I would love that. That'd be fantastic.
No problem. Happy to do it.
I would dig it, and I will attend. I've learned a lot from you and from Aleks on how to best ask questions and carry on conversations. 95% of the time, I have no questions. Like, you guys have no questions on my notepad today because it's just that easy to talk to.
Right.
But yeah, the other Pat Flynn, I'll add to it. I get his emails almost every day. They get your emails, Pat. So it's like really confusing. Like, which Pat is it?
Heaven help me. I have some funny stories where they're actually not funny. They're actually kind of depressing, but I think they're funny. Where my publisher booked me on like live radio, right? For like some of my previous books. Mm-hmm. But I was booked under the assumption of the producers that I was the other Pat Flynn.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm like 10 minutes into this interview, or 10 or 15 minutes into an interview. This only happened one time really badly, where we actually began the interview, and only about halfway through did we realize that it was the wrong Pat Flynn that they think they had. And it was an absolute catastrophe. It was easily one of the worst interviews, because I couldn't like, what am I going? I'm going to pull like a George Costanza and like just pretend I'm this other Pat Flynn.
Dude, you know what would have been amazing if you had been like, There's another guy with my name. He's got a great website. It's chroniclesofstrength.com. You should really check it out. You should have just like kept up the facade of being this guy. That would have been like incredible, because now it's like, oh, well, this other Pat Flynn speaking so highly of this kettlebell Pat Flynn. We should totally check him out.
Man, if I had more brass and intelligence, that might have been the angle that I would have taken. But I was pretty upset with my publisher. I'm like, you had better be sure before you book me for any PR stuff that they know exactly what Pat Flynn they're talking to.
Absolutely.
Again, I'm sure he's a fine guy. He's just not the real Pat Flynn.
No,
that's what you need to do. You need your podcast masterclass needs to be the real Pat Flynn's podcasting masterclass, and then like the tagline would be like, "Accept no substitutions." Just like really out there, man. I that's what I would do.
I would do it at this point. It might as well, because like there's no way that I'm going to avoid confusion, so I just might as well just feed into it, right? Or
exactly.
play it, at least play into it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so funny. I'm glad you owned that up. That's great. I actually have taken some of his seminars and webinars and stuff too, and he does a really good job of like, he's got a different angle. He's a father as well. And breaks down, he accidentally stumbled into podcasting as well and ebooks, because he was trying to create a program for people to learn CAD or something more effectively, and it turned into passive income. So it's kind of cool how it transpired.
Yeah, I'm joking about it. Obviously, I have heard a lot of really good things about the fake Pat Flynn. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have a fake Sean Sewell. This guy's, I'm not as kind about him as you are about the other Pat Flynn. This guy. So I'm trying to get the domain SeanSewell.com just to keep things simple, own your own domain name if possible. And he has a one-page website, a picture of somebody else playing football. It's
unacceptable.
The same picture for 10 years. And I keep making him bids. I'm like, $500, man. That's a lot of money for that one picture. You know
what's great about being named Aleks Salkin and have it, first of all, the first name be spelled wrong, and then second of all, have a very uncommon last name, is that I don't have to deal with this crap. This is basically, this is people who have very American names like Sean Sewell and Pat Flynn.
And
Aleks Salkin.
Yeah.
Nobody's got that name. Except maybe with a .ru, like a Russian website, but I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
Not to make an interesting topic even more uninteresting, but there's a third Pat Flynn floating around the freaking internet who plays guitar.
Oh my God. Dude, this is really, we are dealing with some Matrix stuff right now, and I feel like I'm the only one that has not yet been copied.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's actually not true, because, my dad sent me something a couple months ago. I haven't dealt with it. I really need to deal with this. Somebody they actually used my, I think it's Salkin Performance. I really shouldn't be giving them free airtime, but somebody out of Bratislava, Slovakia, stole my name and even stole my logo.
Love it.
on for my website, and they set up like a kettlebell thing, and I really need to sue them, but I haven't done anything yet.
Dude, that's so funny you bring that up. So somebody messaged me on my page just like 2 days ago with the same thing. There's this UK kettlebell company. I forget their name. I would totally throw them under the bus right now if I could, because they're just using all my images, all my kettlebell images, all my branding, and all their ads. Oh. And this fan of mine was like calling them out in their ads. He's like, does Pat Flynn know about this? Does Pat Flynn? So he was being, I guess, kind of helpful in that regard. Another one, hilariously enough, my sister is driving up north here in Wisconsin with a friend of hers, and they go by a big billboard, and guess who's on it? This dude in all my kettlebell stuff. Some gym is just using like my legit, like they just stole my image of me holding 2 kettlebells for in Wisconsin. It was my own state too, right? Like, but like way up north.
That's very.
And it's like kind of flattering, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you just totally stole that, right?
You gotta put the kibosh on that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for sure. Well, that goes into an important topic about copywriting and then deeper trademarking and patent. I filed for a trademark 2 years ago, and it took about 7 or 8 months to get it. And I don't know why I did it, just to see if I could do it, I guess. But it's very hard to get a trademark. But copywriting, anything we write or put out there is like automatically kind of covered, but it's hard to enforce, right? So
It is.
what is the next steps if you wanted to, find out who did a screen grab of your image, Pat, and put it on a billboard? Like how would you handle it?
I'll tell you what we did. Christine, I guess, sent them some type of cease and desist threat, and that was all that seemed to be needed. So, but I'll be honest, it was kind of like, what are we going to do if they refuse at this point? Like, it's probably nothing. Like, is it even worth the hassle? So,
Right.
that's I'm with you. It's like it's whatever. They're gonna use my face for some gym up in backwoods Wisconsin. If they're that desperate, I'm not gonna. I'll die on some hills. That's not a hill I'm gonna die on, right?
Well put. There's actually I was trying to find the resource that I use that anytime your name or your business pops up, it'll let you know. And like you, Aleks, I keep popping up in Russia for splitboarding stuff. We know, like the stuff back there. And I'm very flattered. It hasn't been anything negative yet, but it's just kind of nice to know if you have a business or a trade name, what's being used. Obviously, we went for the billboard for you, but you spot your sister spot. How crazy!
Salkin Performance. I'm gonna go give them a bunch of business.
You son of a. You know what?
I'm gonna cancel my subscription to yours. I'm gonna switch it over to them.
Figures, man. You know what? Just for that, I'm gonna go on.
If I get it cheaper.
I'm gonna go to the other Pat Flynn's podcast. On
Hey man, that's not cool. That's not cool.
Hey, okay, now you've crossed the line, buddy. Yeah, I actually know people in Bratislava, so I think what I need to do is reach out and be like, hey, can you help me craft something in Slovak that I can send them, and just let them know, there's going to be hell to pay if you don't.
I'm coming.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I've been there before. Bratislava's a real dump. I'm going to just totally. Actually, that's not entirely true. I was there in like February, and it was like, and I was there to teach a workshop, and it was in like a really industrial kind of area. Legit, man. It was like driving through it. I was like, oh my god. I went back to like 1981, like communist era Czechoslovakia, and here it was like, like if you ever see the James Bond movie, The Living Daylights, they have like a really pretty view of Bratislava. It's like, it was not that. It was like I could see something really nice in the background, but I didn't see any of that up front. It was, I didn't see the cool parts of the city, but it definitely had that like drab Soviet look to it. So if you go there, avoid those places. Go to the cool parts. I'm just gonna let the listeners know because they've got some nice castles and that sort of a thing. But
how would it compare to say Downingtown, Pennsylvania, your old home,
better, man.
Your own hometown?
The word "down" is right in the name because it's like you've really gone down until you get to Coatesville. Like you're basically as low as you can go.
This is short story. That's where I put Aleks when he decided to come live out in Pennsylvania. We put him in Downingtown.
Well, you didn't really put me there per se. I ended up there, and funny enough, it was like, Pat and I did kind of reverse course because you said you and Christine lived in Downingtown like for a while, and then and in fact I think you had just recently moved because the first time I met you when I came out to Westchester, you had just moved into the place that you were in for a good couple of years, and I remember you and I stopped by your old place because I think you had to drop something off or check for some mail or something like that. And then and then when I moved back to the States, I stayed with you and Christine for a few months, and then I moved to Downingtown. And so it was like you went from Downingtown to Westchester, which is a real step up, and I went from Westchester to Downingtown, which was like, it was not nearly as cool. But Downingtown was okay, but not okay enough to want to stay there for much longer than a year.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, that probably made sense to like one person.
Right.
Well, is this outside of Philadelphia?
Right.
Very much so. Yeah.
My next person I'm meeting with is from Philadelphia. He's a male nurse. Give me a restaurant that is good out there so I can just drop that and blow his mind.
Station Tap Room.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I actually think a lot of the restaurants outside of Philadelphia are better than Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, we rarely actually went into Philly when we lived in the Philly area because honestly, it's not my favorite city. And I mean, it's cool, like the cultural stuff, the historical stuff. That's all cool. But there's nothing like food wise, like even like Philly cheesesteaks. Like you'll get a good Philly cheesesteak outside of Philly easily. I mean, I made all my Philly family and friends mad the other day when I said that the Jersey Mike's cheesesteak right here in Waukesha, Wisconsin, was as good as anything I had in Philly.
It's fighting words.
They can get sensitive over those things, and that's why I say them.
You know, my favorite Philly story is I just have to.
Well, hold on. Let me just give the restaurants outside of Philly. Go to a place called Alba, Restaurant Alba in Malvern. You'll take a little train outside of Philly. It might be 30-ish minutes. It's in a awesome little town, and it's a delicious restaurant. So I'll throw my.
And actually, that's a great way to do it too, because the train station is literally right next to the restaurant. Meaning, like, if you're coming from Philly, you'll have to cross to the other side of the road, and that's about it. Meaning, like, you don't have to walk very far. It's like legit, like a 1-minute walk.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So Aleks, that story now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I was just going to say my favorite story about Philly, because, you know, I think it's more fun to make fun of people who are most likely to get offended. Mm-hmm. And people in Philly, like if you make fun of New Yorkers, I don't think they really care. Mm-hmm. Like they're like, all right, whatever. But people in Philly are like are indescribably like attached to Philly. So there was a story, I don't remember how many years ago this was, but it was like I think Pat might remember. Actually, it might have been for the Super Bowl. When the Eagles were going to play the Super Bowl, the cops were like, "We're going to put Crisco all over all of the light poles, mm-hmm. and we're gonna have like everybody basically like on the ready because if the Eagles lose, they're going to trash this town, and if the Eagles win, they're going to trash this town. So we need to be ready for it."
Yeah.
Dude, so I lived through when I first went to college in Philly was the year that the Phillies won the World Series. And it was insane. Outside of and I wasn't even in Philly. I was a little outside of Philly. But the kids were flipping cars over, setting stuff on fire. Like, I'm like, what did I come to here? Like, I thought they were supposed to be happy. Mm-hmm. And it's like insane rioting. And that was before like all the stuff in the city with the parade and all this or that. And then same thing with the Super Bowl. It's like, man, if this is what victory is in Philadelphia, I'm not sure I want anything to do with it. It's a very interesting cultural attitude out there, especially around sports. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would liken it probably to Boston. Here in Denver, at least in the 90s, we were very sports centered. We had the Avalanche was winning Stanley Cups. Broncos won back-to-back Super Bowls. The Nuggets were doing good. So, yeah, we would have, like you mentioned, there'd be riots. Like, we're pretty laid-back people here in Colorado, but you get enough drinks and mob mentality, people get stupid.
And that's why I'm actually kind of happy about like these sports, you know, hopefully being canceled with the COVID, because like people need to like break free of this like sick mental attachment that they have, tribalistic attachment they have with some of these sports teams. I think it might be therapeutic for people to give up sports for a year here.
Mm-hmm. Find new passions. Go do something new, something they can have more control over and create, as opposed to basing their emotions off of something they have no control whatsoever over.
Right. Yeah.
It is funny too to see how connected people get to like a team, so much so that they describe wins and losses in like the first person. Like, man, we really crushed your team. Right. Like you weren't there. Like you were texting me the whole time from your couch. Yeah. Like it really is nuts. I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think ironically, it seems like the people who are least likely to riot when something goes wrong with like whoever they were rooting for is like MMA fans, because I've seen and again, actually in Nebraska, I don't think I've ever seen or heard of a riot. And like the Huskers have won a couple of national championships. Mm-hmm. I think everyone was just really happy about it. Like nobody was like, all right, let's go burn down Omaha Steaks. You know, that never happened. Never occurred to anyone, right? But yeah, I just remember I used to go to like Buffalo Wild Wings and I'd watch like the UFC matches. And there were so many times when because I actually really like MMA. I don't like most sports, but I like UFC in particular. And there were times when there were people I was like dead sure we're going to win. And I went with a friend and I was talking as much trash as I possibly could. And then, you know, my guy lost. And I was like, well, I guess I don't know anything because like, you know, I wasn't like upset. I also didn't put any money on it or anything like that. But my reaction was pretty typical with everybody else's. They'd be like, dang it. And then it was like over, you know. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if that's just because it's a newer sport, a different kind of sport, but yeah, you just don't see too much car flipping when your favorite UFC champ loses.
I think I have a theory on this. You might be wrong. I was listening to Mike Mahler. You know who he is? The kettlebell.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Go, Mikey Mike.
He's super awesome, right? Last week he put up a really cool video about men with low testosterone, and basically it was the people we're characterizing right here, people who overreact. It's a big generalization, but maybe don't have good hormone levels, right? And people who have good hormone levels, they don't overreact to this kind of stuff because they're confident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes good sense, actually. I think Mike is, he's really bright when it comes to stuff like that.
You don't need to. I don't think you need to sell me too hard that there's some sort of chemical imbalance going on with people who act that sort of way. I don't need too strong of an argument to believe that.
In fact, that's my go-to now. I'm just going to go with what Mike said. I find no flaw in his argument.
Yeah.
It's very sound. And we're three men who have good hormones and take care of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Best.
Never better. Terrific. Believe me.
The best hormones.
We have the best hormones ever, folks. Believe me. They're phenomenal. They're fantastic.
I actually haven't had a screen in quite some time. I did a number of years ago, and everything was looking good. I'm probably overdue for. It's good to get those checkups every now and then just to see how the old system is doing.
You know, I'm kind of erotic about this kind of stuff. I really enjoy the endocrinology. And when I was caretaker for my mother and father, they had a lot of hormonal stuff too. So I go in once a year and get checked and the estrogen and all the subfractions just to get an idea. And it's pretty cool. So my readings are usually around 900 out of a measurement of, I think, 200 to 1200. So 900 is pretty good for a 41-year-old.
Yeah, no, it is for sure.
It pays off mostly between the years is where I like it the most because the cognitive benefit of having good hormones is a whole lot better than having crappy hormones.
Sure.
Agreed, for sure.
Well, sweet. Oh, by the way, I did find that service. It's a free service to keep track of your guys' names and all your listeners out there. It's called Talk Walker. So talk as we're talking and Walker alerts.
Oh, sweet.
Punch in your name and see who's talking about you.
Oh, really? Okay.
I'm going to
I'm
put
interested.
that down.
Yeah, I will. Talkwalker.com.
How much is it? Is it free?
It's free.
Oh, well, you're paying with something else for sure. Like they're getting your data or something like that. But that might be worth it because I'm just so curious.
Well, I'll search for you right now.
Yeah, thanks. Let me know who's talking trash, actually, because if there are not enough people talking trash, I need to fix that. I feel like that means I'm irrelevant if that's the case.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So, Alex, I don't know if you ever do this, but occasionally I will go see what people on like Reddit or whatever are saying. I don't typically recommend it, but I have to say the last time I did it, I was pretty surprised. One, I was actually quite pleased. I think the last time I did it because I think somebody just shared. And like I didn't know this person. I certainly didn't have them do it. I didn't pay them to do it. I know some marketers do that, like they pay people to go mention them in Reddit. Like it's a crafty strategy. None of that business here. I was like Google Pat Flynn Reddit. Somebody had shared my $1 ebook, my kettlebell ebook in there, and it got like a whole bunch of attention, and it drove a bunch of sales. And it was mostly very nice things. Of course, there were the few trolls here or there, but my expectation is whenever I go and see myself in a forum, it's probably going to be almost universally not happy stuff. But I don't know. Maybe internet culture is improving a little bit.
No, I think you might be right. By the way, I'm so curious. I decided to get on Reddit. I'm now looking up Aleks Salkin on Reddit, and looks to me like so far there's nothing negative. So again, I got to fix that. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to snoop through the old forums there.
Right.
And this service will go through Reddit as well. Like I just searched my name and my podcast with Craig Marker popped up in Russia again. It's Russian.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. I created an alert for you. So by tomorrow, I will have some intel for you, Alex.
There you go, Alex.
Awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Text in the mail.
Sweet. Well, speaking of interesting services like this, my wife went out to visit her family one Friday night a few weeks ago, had a few drinks, and I learned how to make animated graphics and logos. So I've been really enjoying taking my friends' business logos and just spruce them up and stuff. And so if you want me to do it for you, and listeners out there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Les, dude, I'm on it.
Heck yeah, for
fun.
sure.
And it's also cool to make these like lower thirds for your YouTube videos. You know, you have an
Yeah.
intro, the Hebrew Hammer Salkin, and then you go into your presentation.
Exactly. You know, I'm definitely interested in that because YouTube, I haven't really been very good with social media. Like I've mystically managed to get like a decent number of subscribers on Facebook and YouTube, but I don't do all that much fancy stuff with it. I know a lot of people do. I feel like it would be useful for the purpose of, you know, getting more leads and that sort of a thing. But for so long, it's just been basically, I'm going to turn my camera on, do something, be done with it. I feel like a little like touch of
well, a little touch of class.
A little touch of class would be good, at least to, you know, to spruce it up a little bit. Because I always think the information's good, but if the presentation is not as good, I think more and more, if it's people's first impression, I think that it rubs off on them. And people are, and I could be wrong about this, but I think people are very drawn in by that, like that look of at least basic level professionalism. I remember when Kelly started doing his mobility WOD stuff. You know, you look at some of his stuff from 9 or 10 years ago. It was basically just somebody turned on a camera and went from there, and it was like amazing information. But I think he's also now started doing like a little bit better produced information, because I think that's just where we've gone. It's like it sets people apart nowadays, whereas in the past, I think it was maybe a little less important.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, go ahead.
I can't figure this one out, right? Because I have done a mix of both, right? So Aleks, you know, when we were in PA, I had good old Jonathan, right? Had to come in with his fancy cameras and do like, so if you go on my YouTube video and you see like the ones with the formal intros and it looks well shot, it's because I actually had a cameraman doing that. And some of those videos have done and are doing extremely well, but I don't know if any one of those has done better than like some of my best. Here's my crappy flip phone. Here's my crappy flip cam. Here's my crappy iPhone workout video. So
Yeah.
I don't even have a hard and fast. I mean, to me, it's like the content needs to be good no matter what, right? So that's content is paramount. And then does the polish hurt? I don't think it ever hurts, but at least for me, has it made like a significant difference? Nothing that I've been able to detect anyways. You definitely get hurt. It definitely hurts if like a certain minimum amount of quality isn't met. That's true.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're not meeting a certain minimum amount of quality in audio video, then you're going to suffer big time. But once, yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, I remember I've looked through some of your old videos, and I know you've told me about this too. It was like at one point, you know, you just put up a video and it's like 50,000 views, like no problem. And I think it would seem, and again, I don't know if this is true or not because I'm no social media expert, but it seems like the way that social media platforms work is that when they're new, they make it very easy for you to go viral. If it's, you know, like there's a lower barrier of entry for going viral. And then as they get a bit more established and people kind of tend to start, let's say, needing the platform, or it becomes something that's just a part of everybody's day-to-day life, then it becomes more pay to play, or it's a lot harder to go viral organically. And I know, Pat, you and I have talked about this before. And that's the case.
So I just pulled up my YouTube, and my 5 most popular videos. One of my videos is how to goblet squat. It's got about 700,000 views. It's a 3.5 minute video, and it was shot on a crappy flip. Remember those old flip cams? Remember those things?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like terrible production quality, but it's one of my most popular videos. Out of my 5 more popular videos, it seems like only one was more highly produced. We got one Jonathan video in there called the 5 most common kettlebell swing mistakes. But that one is about 150,000. So that's still a couple. Now, granted, it's also a lot more recent, so it hasn't had as much time on there, and the algorithms have changed and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just kind of, it's interesting.
The one video that we did, I don't mean to interrupt you, Sean, but I got to say this, and Pat, I know you're going to agree with me. The one video that really should have gone viral beyond belief was our Michael Caine video.
Everyone hated that one. It got like no attention.
Yeah, we basically, Pat and photographer / videographer Jonathan, they liked my Michael Caine impression, and so Pat was like, "Well, we got to do
cocaine."
Hello, my name is Michael Caine." You know Michael Caine, like from Batman, right?
That was fantastic.
Right. I mean, I look nothing like the guy, but like we decided we were going to do a video of me giving instructions with Michael Caine, doing a Michael Caine impression.
Teaching, what did you teach? The swing? I forget what it is.
Yeah, it was a swing. And you know, the funny thing is that it was like, I remember we had like a script written out, and Yonatan wrote it, and he picked the most obscure Michael Caine roles. Like, he could have been like, you might remember me from such films as the Dark Knight series or something like that. And he's like, and it was Hannah and Her Sisters and Jaws 4: The Revenge. Like, those are the ones that he picked. It was, I mean, it was meant to be tongue in cheek, like through and through, but it got like 800 views. And Christine, Pat's wife, even came up with a great screen, or what would it be? It would like a thumbnail. And it was just, it was a random, like a free picture of a guy swinging a kettlebell, or just really poorly photoshopped.
Yeah, I have a pull up over too.
So here it is. It's Michael Caine (parentheses famous actor) teaches the kettlebell swing, and it's only got about a little over 1,000 views. It's actually one of my worst performing videos. But like the joke is like, here's something where we actually had the production quality, we had the videographer, we actually wrote a script. I've never written a script for anything. So you write a script, get a video, like we think we have a funny. I thought it was funny. Maybe I'm the only one. I always thought it was funny.
My parents
and, like,
even loved it.
And just total crickets, right? And then I put up some other video of like me just doing some stupid thing in my backyard on my iPhone, and like it goes viral, right? It's just you can't figure some of this stuff out. You just can't.
No, you can't. Oh, that's so funny. I have a pull up here too. I have it in the chat, and I'll put it in the show notes so everybody can watch that.
Good. Get those numbers up. We got rookie numbers right now. We gotta pump
38
it up.
likes. Yeah, 38 likes right now. 38 was me. So
yeah, that's exactly the problem. Like, you created 38 YouTube accounts. You know, we need a couple more organic ones. We greatly appreciate it, though. I'm gonna throw that out there.
absolutely.
And like it like has like a totally catchy headline too. Who's not gonna click? Michael
Yeah, it's
Caine,
like it should drive
famous
curiosity.
actor. Right? It's like has all the elements of something that should work. Right, catchy headline. Like, if you're into kettlebells, like, this is totally weird. How are you not going to click it? It's got humor. It's well produced, and it actually like it's a decent swing tutorial. Like, we went through the swing.
Yeah.
So it's like it checks all the boxes of something that at least could work. And yeah, it just was a complete flop. So
It's a great demonstration though about you even have the keywords correct. Kettlebell swing, Russian kettlebell swing. How to do a Russian kettlebell swing. Michael Caine workout. Like, that's very attractive.
Caine.
Right?
How many people are looking up Michael Caine workout? I don't know if that's actually.
I want to meet those people. They're probably pretty interesting.
somebody watches The Dark Knight, but like, you know, Christian Bale looks pretty fit, but I want the Michael Caine workout.
He's
Michael
so
Caine's butt was popping in that movie. I got to figure out what he's doing.
Well, that one person, this is the best video for them. How funny. But to your point, Pat and Alex, I have taken courses. I've used services like Social Blade and TubeBuddy, and I do the right imaging for the YouTube videos, and sometimes we put in a lot of effort with microphones and lighting and all the things, and it gets a portion of what I thought it would hopefully get. Other times, my wife just whips out her iPhone and films something randomly. We put it up, and 20,000 people later, you're like,
Boom.
what?
Mhm.
I don't quite understand how it works. So
Yeah. So that's why I just don't sweat it too much. I try to be like, okay, there's clearly a minimum floor you can't go below.
Mhm.
And if I can do some extra nice things production wise, sure, I'll do it. But otherwise, I'm just going to get the thing out.
Right, the content is king, and as long as the audio is not crap, you're good to go.
Exactly. So there's a lesson for all the social media people out there, and just also like total fate to like. There's some videos that I just have. Well, there's a lesson behind that. It's like it is a numbers game, right? It's like baseball, I guess. Talking of sports, like sometimes you're going to hit a single, sometimes you're going to strike out, sometimes you're going to hit a double. If you keep swinging, you'll probably do something decent eventually, right? So you just got to be consistent in the content generation.
That's awesome. I think we can all agree with that, and that's great advice for anybody out there who's trying to make it and is feeling a little frustrated. Just keep swinging, keep practicing, keep getting to bat,
Keep going.
Yeah.
And also understand that people who've been doing this, like I was just looking at that one of those videos was 9 years old. I've been doing this for a minute, and that isn't even my oldest video. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've been studying this for a long time, and I certainly don't have it all figured out. But, you know, you get some certain principles in place, you have at it, and good things will happen.
Absolutely. And to add to that, what I've learned with YouTube and websites in general is Google and YouTube want to reward people who are helpful and have good content. Not flashy, not the, whatever. They want the viewer or the listener or the reader to get something of value out of that. And if they do, they will reward you organically with placement.
I have to say this. A couple of years ago, I really regret not making a connection with this guy, because when I was living in Israel, it was like basically I think a few months before I was preparing to leave, and my friend Eduardo, who Pat knows, was studying there. He was doing postdoctoral research in astrophysics at Hebrew University of Jerusalem. And he just great, like social butterfly, like just meets people and like really great at setting up like social events. And so he managed to, set up it was like a barbecue sort of a thing in one of the parks in Jerusalem, Gan Saker. And we were all getting together. It was just a bunch of nerds from the university that he was at. And they all had these different things they were doing. And one of the guys is an American dude, said that when he was done with whatever he was doing at the university, I don't remember what it was, he was going to go to work for YouTube. And I wish I had just made that contact so that I could have asked him, and of course provide him with some sort of a value too, but like asked him, what is it going to take for me to get as far as possible on YouTube without having to open my wallet? Like, what are the things that get most viewed or whatever? And I just didn't, because it's not like you've got, hundreds of thousands of people working for YouTube that you can just, randomly find. It's probably like a pretty small number of people, and never made the contact, man.
Never made it, man.
I'll find
Screwed up.
I have some connections. I'm actually going to hire a YouTube specialist to audit my YouTube channel, because I can always
Nice.
and I'll share my results with you guys.
Lovely.
Yeah, and not that you're asking for advice right now, but any listeners and viewers out there, if you have over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, you can monetize your channel, and you can kind of control what ads are on there. So that's a smart passive income right there.
I got that. I
Really?
want that.
Well, you both qualify.
They'll mail me money? Sweet.
They'll deposit in your PayPal account if you want it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, we'll offline. I'll help you guys with that. We'll
Sweet.
buy some groceries with it. Yeah, it's free too. Plus, you get more analytics, and you get to see what video did well at what time, and who was the audience, and like, all right, if I enjoy doing that, then I'm gonna do more of that and help somebody.
So I'm terrible at taking advice. I'll give it all day long. I'm terrible at it. So I have some friends that do crush it on YouTube. Now, here's the funny thing. When it comes at the end of the day in business and economics, they're not crushing it that much, right? But they crush it on YouTube. So this is I guess a more important lesson is like popularity on social media doesn't necessarily translate to your bottom line, right? I know I have friends that literally crush it on YouTube, but they still got their 9-to-5 job, right? Because it just doesn't pay the bills. But they have given, because with my podcast, it's very generalist. I do stuff on philosophy. I do stuff on fitness. And they said, if I want to start doing that on YouTube, it'd probably be better if I just started separate channels rather than trying to clump it all in, is the advice they've been giving me. And I just like, man, I don't want to
manage
one. But that's what they're telling me. I don't know if that's true or not, but.
I kind of wonder, I could see how that would be the case, because people are looking for maybe, if they're looking for philosophy versus training versus whatever. But I also think that if you as a brand are encompass all of these things, in many ways, maybe it only makes sense to keep it on one channel.
That's my thought, is the second line of it. But yeah, so I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm not so desperate to have like the greatest YouTube channel that I'm just like, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And
100%.
I'm with you guys on that. I think also for you guys especially, and for myself, the brand's very important. The brand's why people trust you or go to you in the first place, right? No flashy marketing. It's just like, Pat Flynn's awesome. Aleks is awesome. You do great stuff. And then there's more sides to you. You guys play instruments, you talk about really cool topics and fitness, right? So you're well-rounded. So I think it brings a lot of attractiveness to your brand.
Yeah. Well, thank
Totally.
you.
Yeah.
That's very kind. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we really appreciate that. But I do think you're right, because I think, I don't remember, maybe it might have been, I was listening to an interview with Rob Zombie on Joe Rogan. Nice. I'm like, I loved Rob Zombie. Like,
oh yeah, that's fun.
Man, I
was
gotta
young,
watch
so.
that one. I watched one recently with David Lee Roth, on Joe
Oh.
Rogan.
I heard that one was nuts.
That was a trip for
Yeah.
sure. Like I'm like, I don't know what I just listened to, but
What about boppity-boo?
but I
dude.
loved every minute of it.
Yeah, David Lee Roth is a real nut. Rob Zombie, interestingly enough, is like very normal, like chill, relaxed guy, like very smart. And what was interesting is that one of the things that he said is, like Rob is, I think, was born in like mid '60s, and so he was saying he and Joe were kind of talking about their childhood, and he said like, when we were younger, it's like you didn't have VHS, you didn't have Netflix and all this other stuff. So you kind of had to, if you wanted entertainment, you kind of had to just deal with what was out there. And so it was like, whether it was music or whether it was TV, like when Planet of the Apes was going to be playing on TV, like the whole neighborhood, like all the kids were talking about it. And it was like, because you couldn't just go down and like to Redbox and grab, like a copy of whatever you wanted. And I think nowadays, and Rob was saying basically like, back in the old days, you could hear influences from all different types of music in people's bands, but now it's like exactly what these people are listening to, because you can just you can hear it, and it's all the same stuff. Meaning it's like it's all punk rock or it's all heavy metal or what have you, and I think that even though it makes sense that you would do that, it's more beneficial if you kind of try to be, like Pat says, like be a generalist, like I remember Pat mentioning that I bet you can't do this workout. That actually came from a guitar magazine, right? It was like, I bet you can't play this riff.
That's right. I just stole it from one category and applied it to another.
And it worked great, and that's the thing. It's like so often people want to see, if you yourself are the brand, I think people want to see that there's more to you than just training. And I remember when Pat first had me on his podcast, like it was only a few episodes in.
Biggest
we
mistake
just
of my
talked
life.
about shawarma and like like living in Israel, and I was like, this is gonna do really poorly, because like I just thought, I was like there's no way people are gonna want to hear this stuff. But I was wrong, because people really like people who are three-dimensional, and they don't feel like they can connect to you as a person if all you are is like, I pick things up and put them down.
Right.
If you're not interested in something, you don't want to pretend, like I'm genuinely interested in playing bass and learning foreign languages and, all sorts of other fun stuff. So it's authentic. But I think nowadays people are so specialized, like by default, that they don't even know where to begin in terms of like branching out and finding something that they're excited about. But yeah, it really is important.
Yeah, people are both like, in today's world, oddly enough, they're like hyper specialized, isolated, and yet still lack depth.
Yeah.
And incompetent, which like boggles my mind. Whereas to your point about musicianship with being a generalist too, Nuno Bettencourt, one of my favorite guitarists from the band Extreme.
More than words.
Yeah, that's the song everyone knows him for, but like every other song on that album is what you actually want to listen to.
Right.
That's a good song though, I have to admit. Everyone gets moved by more.
Is that on that album?
Yeah, that's Get the Funk Out. That's the Porno Graffiti album.
Right, yeah.
Wholehearted is on there as well, which is kind of another one of their softer ones. But anyway, I remember watching one of his like older clinics or something, and somebody said, "How do you become a better guitarist?" He says, "By becoming a better musician. Like, don't just listen to other guitarists. Like, listen to opera singers, listen to cellists, listen, because you're going to absorb those influences, and that's going to make your style more dynamic, more interesting, more bold. You're going to stand out more if you don't just isolate yourself or just hyper specialize with just one line of influences, or even on just one instrument." So he's not saying, he's saying like, don't just go across different genres, go across different instruments. That's what's going to make you. And like, what is Nuno known for? Well, like Van Halen, people who know Nuno is like, this guy's style is incredible. He's just so unique. And he says it's because I just incorporate influences into guitar that I got from outside of guitar. Marty Friedman was the same one. Marty Friedman from Megadeth.
That's what I was thinking with the whole time.
Yeah, he's really well known for having this very strange vibrato, but it's like a beautiful, exotic vibrato. He's one of those guitarists, like as soon as you hear the first couple lines, you're like, that's Marty Friedman, because the style is so distinct. He got it from Japanese enka singers, right? He was just trying to emulate Japanese enka singers, and it gave him this utterly unique way of getting the notes to sing that just makes him stand out in a way that no other guitarist sounds like him. So yeah, but he's still like an uber virtuoso. He's still got incredible depth in terms of pyrotechnical precision, but it's that generalism, that branching out. So it was interesting you brought it up, Aleks, because it's something that seems to actually be a pretty consistent theme among at least some people who I really look up to.
Yeah, it's if there's anything that's really a hack, I think, to get better at whatever your main goal is, I really do think that it's being more interesting and having more depth than just being like, this is the only thing I can do. Some people can be really, really obsessed with one thing and do like incredibly well. But I mean, I think you've mentioned there are a couple of guitar players who are like that, who are just phenomenal guitar players, but like no social skills or no business skills or anything like that.
They're jerks, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, by and large, for most people, I think, well, I mean, this is true I think it's always been true. Whatever you see people doing, just do the opposite, and you'll probably crush it.
And like, don't get me wrong, I'd rather be like a hyper hardcore one-trick pony specialist than having to go to a party and people ask, well, what can you do? And like, the only thing I can say is I can float on my back, right?
True.
But I think if like, there's certain musicians, I won't name them right now, not that they're going to come attack me, they wouldn't waste their time. But like even guitarists that are like hyper specialists, it's like you can listen to them for like 15 seconds and then you're over it, right? Because it's like you got that one trick, like you're really, 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 really fast on the fretboard, for example. But that's it. And like that's really appealing for 15 seconds. And then you've just lost me. Now, for like the first person that ever does that, that person becomes uber famous, right? The first person who ever like breaks the speed of light on the fretboard becomes famous. But then people start to emulate that person, right? They want to try and be, and then all those people are just a bunch of nobody cares, right? So unless you're the first person to be that like hyper specialist, then just be a generalist.
Yeah, it's easier to be the first than to be the best.
Right, or it's easier to be different than it is to be better.
There you go.
Ooh, I love this. Pat, there's a lot of things I can bring up to add to these topics. This is great. A few chats ago, you gave good advice, like start the project yesterday. So you can be the first, right? Or among the first, right? It's nice to be an early adopter. Like my book right there, it's the #1 book on splitboarding in the world and the only one. Like, So,
perfect, man.
Yeah, so if you just get your stuff out there, and also back to diversity, not just with music too, but with people, like it's very easy to get into an echo chamber and only hear certain things, and it doesn't really help a person grow as much, right? It's nice to get different points of view, an adult conversation is not heated, and get some knowledge.
It's good to argue with a lot of stupid people on Facebook, I think. That's the key.
Yeah. Well, yes, about that. Well, each one of us have a really big Facebook group, right? And luckily I have support with my Facebook group. It's just shy of 10,000 people for backcountry skiing and snowboard, and it's really I try and stay curious about why people comment the way they comment or what they post, and we try and moderate it. And Pat and I talk about this in good detail, and I hope we talk about it again about like putting the hammer down. No pun intended. Cutting people off. Yeah, exactly. So, in your guys' world, how do you handle assholes?
Oh, well, let me just say a couple things about your first point, which is diversity of viewpoints, right? If you're on the hunt for truth, and I think all of us are, you want the best opposing viewpoints. And the best place for that is to have good friends who are very intelligent that you can have. I mean, like look around my friend circle, like Aleks, one of my best friends. I'm Catholic, he's Jewish. We have a huge difference between us, right? A major like religious difference. We're still best friends, but we can have mature conversations about these things. One of our other great friends, Yonatan, the cameraman, he's like an agnostic, right? He's not religious at all. Sam, Hindu, for example. So, I'm with you 100%. But then there's the other side of it where you just have shrill, petulant fools that they don't really want to engage. They don't really want to have a civilized dialogue or conversation or argument. And that's where I'm far less tolerant, right? I really just don't have time for that. It also helps, like, kind of from a philosophical standpoint, like subscribe to academic journals. Like you want the best opposing views, just like go to the peer-reviewed stuff on any issue, right? For the best arguments is kind of like stress testers for your positions. You're probably not going to find it on your average Facebook thread. You're just not. So my advice, and I was talking with Aleks about this the other day, is like, I don't know why I let so much puerile nonsense onto my Facebook stream as I actually do. Like, I feel like I've been far more tolerant than I should be for people who just really sap my time, energy, patience, distract me from work. And like people I like don't even know. Like there was unfortunately a period on Facebook where I just accepted way too many friend requests from people I don't know, just thinking it was like the nice thing to do. And
Sure.
that was a mistake on a private page. I'm starting to realize. So those are a few initial thoughts. And then when it comes to groups, yeah, especially if it's your group, I would say a couple things. One is you need to set expectations and culture from the start.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a group, like, hey, here's what we talk about. Here's what we don't talk about. Here's the etiquette that is acceptable. Here's the etiquette that's not acceptable. Have like a big expectations thread and be very firm. You know, and if you do that and you're willing to drop the hammer hard and fast, set that culture in, I think you'll be very successful. I mean, my strong on group, like I feel confident knowing like I could leave that group for like a week and I know I'm not going to come back to any dumpster fire of a mess. It's actually quite rare that we have any issues in that group at this point, but it's because I did the best I could to make sure that the expectations and culture was set from the start.
That's excellent advice. Excellent advice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I would have to echo that. I mean, I have a Facebook group that's not quite that large. I mean, it's just a little shy of like 800 people. I've actually never had any issues. And I really haven't set any expectations, meaning I never wrote a thread saying, here's how you have to comport yourself.
But I would say you did, Aleks, because a lot of them have been with you for a while through your email list, right?
Sure. Yeah,
so
that's
there
a good
was,
point.
So there was like a cultural molding, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it wasn't just like a random group you started with a bunch of random people in it, for example.
True. No, that is a very good point. A lot of people who are on my email list are also in this group. And there are people who are from the outside who are maybe not on the email list, but they've been attracted to the group because they're the kind of people that I try to attract around me in any case. Like the people who are interested in learning, who are, and I have people, I can tell you, I have people of all different political persuasions and religious persuasions. But it just, that sort of a thing never really comes up. And I think part of it is because it's just, again, it's just like what I've cultivated. I never really had to throw anybody out of my group, but I have thrown people out. But it was for other infractions. Like one guy bought something from me and an hour later asked for a refund, despite being very clear on what he was going to get. He was just like, oh, well, you know, so-and-so recently wrote a book that is like half the price and you know, it also covers this material. I was like, okay, well, I mean, you have a PDF that I can't get back, and you want your money back. So I'll give you your money back, but you'll not only never do business with me again, but you're out of the group. You're off the email list. So I blocked him from the email list, threw him out of the group. And like, sure enough, earlier this year, he tried to rejoin the list. I denied it, tried again, like a day later. So
that happened, buddy. You lost your privilege.
Right. Well,
Sorry.
I let him languish in the waiting room for a little while, and then I just blocked him. I was like, I'm not going to keep accepting. I had to be a little petty, but yeah, I mean, things like that are the only ones that I really had to deal with. And I think, you know, there's that saying that water seeks its own
You're
level.
just like dangling hope in front of him like a kid.
I'm pretty cruel. I mean, it's like I remember seeing when I was a kid, I think it was like
You
a
monster.
National Geographic or Ranger Rick, where it was like this wolf was throwing a vole up into the air, a little rodent thing, just playing with its food before he killed it and ate it. And that was basically what I did without the murder part. So, and without the eating. So I guess it's really nothing like that now that I think about it. Not at all analogous, but
That's pretty close with the guy.
but I strung him along a little bit, which is what I thought was really funny. But I don't feel bad for this guy either, because it's like I provided, and people love this program. I mean, I had people talking about it in the group like over a year later, like how much they liked it.
Right. Yeah. You don't need, I know you do great work. You don't need to defend yourself, but there's an important principle here is like, there's this been slogan that's been generated that like the customer is always right. And that's absolutely false. Right. Yeah. It's just, you couldn't be more wrong. Or it's this idea that like, if you're a business owner, you're like you're always guaranteed to be the one that's going to exploit people, but customers would never exploit a business. Give me a break. Businesses are exploited left and right. Big businesses, small businesses, all the time are robbed. They're taken advantage of.
But you look at Yelp. Like, hey, you know, be a real shame if somebody left you a bad review on your restaurant because I didn't get a free dessert. Like, come on, man. Like, they're trying to shake you down like there's some sort of a mafia figure. because people are afraid of somebody saying something bad on Yelp. You know, if you know what you're doing, you can turn those negative reviews into more reasons for people to buy from you.
Yeah, you got to be clever and witty, but those can be assets. But yeah, so it's like when I get a whiff of somebody who's doing something unethical or trying to take advantage in any way, I ban them for life. Like, you've lost, like, you never get to do business with me. You not only never get to do business with me, you don't even get to read my content. You're blocked from my email list, all of it. So I think it's a policy more business owners should. And like, you'll get a lot of like people like repenting and be like, I'm sorry. And like, that's good. You want the repentance, but I'm firm on that. Like, if you tried to rip me off, especially if you're like rude to my wife who does like the customer service stuff, or you try to like pull one over on her, I have no, there's no strikes. There's no remorse. You're gone. You're gone for good at that point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I can respect that. Yeah, get the weeds out of the garden.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And another point too, like you guys brought up the customer, your ideal customer. You know, I've had to fire customers before, and I'm sure you guys have too. And it's good for them, and it's good for you, right? Because that way they're not an energy vampire or taking you down some kind of weird rabbit hole. And then they find the person or the company or the service that's best for them, and they're out of your world. So,
well, yeah, it's like, of course the customer is not always right, because especially in a coaching business, why would you be asking me for advice then?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, you know what? There's a email marketer that Pat and I both like, named Ben Settle, and he said he has these rules, the Ben Settle rules, and one of them is, if you let your customers run your business, they're going to run it up on the rocks. Like, these people don't, I mean, they might have good intentions, but they don't really know anything about your business. And like, they're thinking of it maybe from, and sometimes they're not even your customers. Here's an example. A couple months ago, maybe it was weeks, months, I don't remember, but I posted something on my professional Facebook page. And I always, at the end, I include an inducement to join my email list, because I tell them this is where all my best content goes out. You know, it's not social media. I post good content on social media, but like, my most in-depth and most beneficial and helpful stuff is always going to be on the email list. That's my priority. And so some commenter was like, you know, I understand what you're trying to do by putting a link to your email list, but I think it really takes away from the content. And I was like, oh, okay, well then I'll just go back to not making money and wasting all my day on social media, so that you feel a little bit better about reading some advice on Facebook that you're just going to scroll past and not take any action on. And I'll deprive all these other people of the ability to make a decision that's going to help their life immensely by getting on my list and maybe finding a program that they like, or a challenge that really helps them a lot. Like, if I had listened to this guy or any person like him, I mean, I would not be doing anywhere nearly as well, because these people, again, they don't have your interests in mind. They have, you know, they don't even know why they want what they want. Like, it doesn't make any sense to complain about that, because he's there voluntarily. He's not like, it's not a paid thing. And I'm and I'm spamming like a bunch of, let's say, like unrelated products. That'd be a different complaint. This is like my page. He's there for free. He hasn't bought anything from me. So I don't really give a crap what he thinks.
There's just weird, and I'm sure maybe both of you guys have noticed this too, with people like that. There's this weird mix of both rationalization and entitlement. They're rarely the people that take any action, but they're the first and loudest to complain on things, and they have this incredible sense of entitlement. So whenever I get a whiff of that, I'm sorry, you're just gone. I just have no time for that. Mm-hmm. And for coaches and stuff too that let customers run their business, like, please, whoever's listening to this, if you ever hire a coach like that, you are getting scammed for your money, because that to me is just a sign of both cowardice and incompetence. A coach who knows what they're doing will let you know what you need to do, because they are your coach, right? And if you're telling your coach what you should be doing, congrats, you played yourself, right? Yeah, like, I don't know what you hired, but it ain't a coach. Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is fantastic. Okay, this is a fun topic I hope we're going to get to. We did. So last weekend at my gym here in Denver, we had a little coaches course. And it wasn't like a certification. It was just 9 of us, all coaches, got together and created curriculum and some movement patterns and some coaching. And it was cool because I'm not a CrossFit person. I'm not an Olympic lifter, but there are 3 of those people. So I got to study how they operate and what they look for. and watch what I think is a bad pull-up, and I show them a real pull-up because we know how to do them, you know. So long story longer, in the non-physical stuff, we did, what is your why? So there's this drill you can do, right? Like 7 whys deep, and people like break down in a good way. They expose themselves. Like, why do you coach? Why do you do whatever it is you do, right? It was really a nice eye opener for myself and a lot of other people too. But so, yeah, it's a fun drill. And then one of the questions was, what is a coach? What is a leader? You know, it might be a little bit different for most people, but basically I think it's like serving somebody, help them get something done or help them teach them, basically.
Right. I like the analogy of a trail guide. A coach is a trail guide, right? Because it's like you can't walk the trail for somebody, right? Mm-hmm. But you can keep them on path. You can give them the guidance. You can help increase efficiency. You can help improve their effectiveness, right? So for me, the analogy of a trail guide always seemed most appropriate for a coach because it shows that there's expectations on both parties. You still got to walk the trail, but the coach is there to provide you like legitimate shortcuts to help to make sure you don't wander off into the brush. You don't, get bitten by something poisonous. You don't hurt yourself, and that you know what the best path is to take. That to me is I think the predominant role of a coach.
Right. And I have to say, I really like that analogy because, there's a lot of stuff going into that. If you think about it, first of all, there's those Holiday Inn commercials. It's like somebody's giving all this advice. And it's like, are you a doctor? He's like, no, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. The joke being that this person is acting, like they know what they're doing. You don't want to hire a Holiday Inn Express trail guide, right? And so ideally, you're going to look for somebody with some experience and somebody who knows how to help you. And then if you do hire them and you're like, I think we should probably take that trail over there. I think that one looks like a little bit better. And the trail guide's like, okay, yeah, sure, why not? But like all it does is get you lost or stuck or, who knows what else. And then you're going to blame the trail guide. Well, actually, you should, because the trail guide should have been like, no, that's not what you hired me for. Like,
yes,
this is the reason why that trail is no good. This is the reason why you specifically need this one. Like, that's a black diamond trail, right? Like, if you've been hiking for 10 years, that's a good trail. But if this is your first hike, no, like, we're going to do this one because you're going to enjoy the experience. You're also not going to, just barely live to regret it. So, yeah, you absolutely, you need someone who can guide you, but you also need someone who's not going to get pushed around. Like, I feel like that's just a level of like, I don't know why people do it, but it seems almost ubiquitous.
Like, I couldn't imagine, like, especially when I'm starting to, like, I'm young and I'm taking guitar lessons, like, telling my guitar teacher, like, what I need to be doing. Like that it doesn't even make sense to me. Right? No. It didn't then, it wouldn't make sense now. Same thing when I first started martial arts. What I think I need to do is, even though I know nothing about this, right? And you've been doing this for 40 years and you have, multiple championships and this or that. I see what you're saying. I hear you, but I want to do this.
Right.
That reminds me of a great story. There's you remember Kevin Trudeau, like that,
with the quack dude, right?
Yeah. He's in jail now, but he had a couple of good stories I've heard through third parties. And one of them was that when he was young, he did exactly that. He went to a martial arts studio and he went to the sensei or the master or whatever. He's like, show me some like cool advanced stuff. And the guy goes, oh, advanced stuff? You mean like this? And he walked him over to a candle, punched right in front of it, and the wind from his fist went so fast it blew the candle out. And Trudeau was like, yeah, like that. He goes, okay, well, first I have to teach you how to punch. So he really illustrated the fact that you can't escape having to do the boring stuff if you want to get to the really exciting stuff. And most people, again, even if they think they're going to be excited by doing the cool ninja stuff, they're not going to do it anyway. Like they need to have something that, and these are people I would say who are more predisposed to be good clients or students are the ones who want to do the basic stuff, but they also realize, what I can really only commit to a certain amount of time. So I'm just going to really put my focus into being consistent with something that's not going to take up a ton of my time, but I'm going to show up every single time and I'm going to do it. And I have a lot of people who've started doing it, particularly this year, but also last year and years prior, but they've started doing exactly that. And like, they're just like thrilled at the results they're getting, and they're not doing anything ninja or what have you. They're putting in the work on like fundamental stuff, and they're having a really good time doing it because I've given them the right vision. I've tried to attract the right people, and those who bond with the ideas that I have and are willing to do the kind of, we'll say, boring, consistent stuff are the ones who have just really exciting finishes, right?
Yep. First off, I was not expecting a good, positive story from Kevin Trudeau. Most of the only things you hear about him are. What was his book? It was like the natural cures. Like they don't want you to know.
They don't want you to know. I like how the they went from the quotation marks. Like we still use that, and it's like nobody really knows who they are. It's just like people have this idea that well, maybe people are trying to keep some good information from me, so I'll buy this crap.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah, I thought that was a good story. I don't know if he's still languishing in prison, but I kind of think he is.
I have no idea. Yeah.
I remember, actually, I think I followed him on Facebook. This is totally random at this point. When we're
going to get an email of Alex Pippin, his affiliate program.
Right, exactly.
Strength secrets they don't want you to know.
Oh, dude, I should totally do that. I'm looking him up right now.
Well, it'd be funny if you did it because everyone know that, it's just tongue in cheek for you. But that would be a kind of cool name of a program, actually.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as long
they tell you this, well, I'm going to tell you that.
Exactly. I just looked him up. He is American. I thought he was Canadian for some reason, but
I did too.
Yeah, probably because Trudeau. You got Justin Trudeau, and that's my guess. But I remember when on Facebook, right around the time that it looked like he was going to get thrown in the clink, he was posting all this really patriotic stuff, basically to try to drum up support, and he was just going for the lowest common denominator.
Sympathy card.
It was. I remember one time it was just Kevin Trudeau has updated his profile picture, and it was just bald eagle with an American flag in the background, and I was like, dude, you're definitely going to jail for a long time. This is just telegraphing it.
Man, it's well, I guess if you don't have a whole bunch of dignity to start, why would you think he's gonna finish with it, right?
Right.
But,
oh well.
Yeah, I mean it's sad. You wish these scams and stuff weren't out there, but I guess if you don't find a little humor in some of it, you'll probably just go insane.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. Speaking of training, are you guys doing any kind of virtual group training?
No, I haven't done a group training program in some time. I've had a lot of people. Because I've done, I would say, usually one or two group training programs per year. I just have not had the time this past year and a half. Honestly, I would like to get back to it maybe at some point. It's just I always enjoy doing it, but it's commitments like anything else. So
for sure,
yeah,
nothing, yeah.
No, same here. I mean, I did do one earlier this year, but like Pat said, I mean, it's a lot of work that goes into it, and
yes.
I definitely think it's a nice thing to do particularly if you've got something kind of experimental where you're just starting out doing, and you're part of it's going to be experimental for you guys because we're doing something that I don't know, it's not Old Faithful, that I know exactly what's going to happen. I have some ideas of what might happen, but I want to see what kind of results you get, and then later on, if it turns out to be something that I can turn into a different product, you guys will get either grandfathered in with you get a copy of the next version or what have you, but yeah, it is a lot of work, and one of the things I've been finding is that if people because I have this Facebook group, so much of it is people checking in with their daily workouts, that it's almost functioning like that anyway, but at a price point that more people can afford for the most part, and they're getting a lot of camaraderie from other people. They're getting they're becoming friends on Facebook.
That's cool.
And right, and so it's happening sort of organically,
mm-hmm.
and for me, it's become something where it's well, why force it? If it's already happening,
right,
and they're getting kind of the benefits from it, I would say just let it happen.
Cool, very good. I dig it. Well, I was just kind of curious. I had never done it before, and I started doing it this month. I built a gym inside a law firm several years ago, and that was my main gym outside of where I currently train. And of course, it closed down in March, like everything else did. But pitched together an idea of doing a Zoom virtual class.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun, actually. 15, 20 people in each class. But this is the funny part, though. If the cameras aren't on, I'm literally talking for 45 minutes and showing stuff to just 15 white boxes.
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
It's almost discouraging. And then and then I found a way to pump in music through the Focusrite, and but I can't hear the music, so I don't know how loud it is per se. And so it's kind of like 45 minutes of neurotic pirate jokes and exercises. And then the last 5 minutes, everybody turns the cameras on. Oh, that was so great! And they're all covered in sweat, and like, woo! And
That's all right. Okay, yeah. So
yeah, so it like gives you some satisfaction that it did work. And then you see people's dogs and their kids are involved, and you're like, oh, just leave your cameras on, please. The camaraderie would be so
right, yeah.
100%.
So actually that changes things. I'm sorry, I might have got confused. I thought you were talking about like group coaching programs. We have done a number of the virtual training stuff.
Yeah, I thought you did.
This year. Yeah, no, we definitely did. I just wasn't making the right connection there. So yeah, because throughout the years I've done like group, I guess online coaching over a certain period of time. I haven't had time to do that in a while, but this year we did a virtual Bells and Beer,
That's right.
which is just like a one time like workshop thing,
Yeah.
right? And then we did one on the swing, we did one on the squat, and we do have one more coming up actually, and it will be on the Turkish Get Up, and it will happen sometime next month. We haven't set a specific date yet, but if you're on Aleks or my email list, then you'll definitely hear about it as soon as we do.
That's really cool. What a fun exercise too.
Mm-hmm.
Have you guys ever done a sandbag get up?
Yes.
Yeah.
My first experience was this last week of that coach's course. I don't know about you guys, but I found it almost easier to do a squat get up than it was to do like a traditional Turkish kind of.
It is. I have an old video on my YouTube channel. I'd be curious to see if this one actually got a decent amount of views or not. Where like there used to be a very heavy log outside the Dragon Gym. It was well over 100 pounds, and I did a get up with that thing. And I don't remember if I went into the squat or not, but I remember it was extremely awkward and a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Especially with a log. At least a sandbag kind of rests on you, and you can kind of hug it.
I think the squat get up does make a lot of sense because it's like you've got two legs that you can just move more weight with, whereas with the Turkish get up, it's more of like a party trick to do with the standard hand over head, because if you don't have the shoulder mobility, and even if you do, like it's just like the shoulder mobility is like the limiting factor. Mm-hmm. So I think it makes more sense the other way if you're going to do the sandbag or a log, or something along those lines. So that makes sense.
Yeah, sandbags cool. I haven't played around with sandbags probably in like 3 or 4 years. We used to have a number at the Dragon Gym, and I would throw them into they were never a primary training tool for me, but I'd like to throw them in every now and then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, it's my first time ever using it, and it was fun. Just figuring stuff out. Oh, that's really cool. And I remember the series you had for the squat and stuff. So I look forward to the Turkish get up. And using Zoom has been pretty interesting. Vimeo is another resource too I learned about last week. You can upload into 4K. You can stream with better quality than Zoom, and then the people can download the video in 4K or 1080p, whatever you shot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And you can have password, protection as you should. So the person pays for it and gets it. But it costs like $70 a month for that plan. Which is
I may have that. I have a Vimeo account that I've uploaded because for like private videos and stuff before. I feel like I may have that account. So
I would, check that out because I think that might be a really cool resource too, or a backup plan to Zoom or whatever people are using. Interesting stuff.
Yeah, you are the resources guy, Sean. You really are.
Well, I appreciate that. I try a lot of things and I fail at most of them. So I'll report.
You're on the right track, man.
There's a lot of cool ways to do stuff here. Oh, there's one quote I saw and I thought about you guys, and it was on the side of a shanty, a mountain shanty, like a little hut. And I'll put a picture in the show notes.
Sounds like you regard us very highly already.
Yeah, well, it's a beautiful. It's a really cool place. I like to go there and show my friends when I'm a trail leader on the trail, and there's a secret hut that nobody knows about. It's really cool, covered in cool stickers, and on the side of it are some pretty good quotes. And the one that I was thinking about was, "Comparison is the killer of joy." Yeah, that one really stuck with me. So I was thinking, a lot of people spend a lot of time comparing, especially on social media. Grass is always greener, and then Brett Jones and I were talking about this a few weeks ago. The biggest thing that I don't think people understand is we're all battling something or going through something, and it may not show on the surface, but if we approach with compassion and empathy and stay curious and support other people and not just think, oh, that person's completely put together, they've got like a Range Rover and all this and that, there's a lot more behind the scenes, especially right now.
Oh, there always is, and like I hope even stuff we talked about earlier shows some of that. I mean, like it's minor stuff. It's not like deep like emotional personal distress, but even just saying like, hey, we've been at this business thing for a long time, and when it comes to a lot of stuff like what makes a good YouTube video, I have no idea, right? Like, and I know people assume, like people see my stuff, they see my popular videos, whatever, they just like assume that the grass is greener on Pat Flynn's side. He must have this all figured out or whatever. No, not always the case. Rarely the case with me, in fact.
No, I have to echo that. Like, there are so many things. I don't know too many people who don't have like the imposter syndrome, where they're like, what am I doing? What am I talking about? I think the important thing to keep in mind is that almost everybody has that. I think even Dan John has talked about this, and this guy, like, very few people have the experience that Dan John has in the coaching field, right? He's not talking about, like something he has no expertise in, but like stuff that he does have expertise in, that he's periodically had that feeling. And I think that the important thing is not to like ignore it completely and just assume that you've made it or that everything you're talking about, but rather that what you're saying and doing is going to have value, and that no matter what, you're going to keep improving and you're going to keep progressing. Mm-hmm. But the only way that you're going to do that is if you have enough self-respect to say, here's what I'm doing well at, here are the things that I can say very truthfully that I need to keep working at, I need to get better at, but it shouldn't stop you from doing them. I mean, I think anybody, if we want to use the analogy of exercise, because I see this a lot actually in exercise for sure, but also in learning foreign languages and stuff like that. But people will say, I want to get in shape, but I can't devote an hour a day, 5 days a week. It's like, well, who said you had to? Like, can you do like 2 days a week for 15 minutes? Can you start with that? Or can you do every day for 5 minutes so that it's just like something that there's no emotional attachment to it? It's as simple as brushing your teeth. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people give themselves, like, the standard they give themselves is like so high that, like, if they were to even attempt it, of course they would fail. So why even bother trying it? And it really holds a lot of people back. And then they see people like that they really admire doing very well, and they're thinking, man, this person's just made to do this stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's very rarely the case. You gotta sack up, put on your big boy pants,
boys,
and then you gotta just get after it and be willing to make a fool of yourself. Everybody's gonna forget it anyway. Like, I say stupid stuff periodically, and nobody remembers. I mean, it's like, it's 72 hours. Everyone's forgotten.
Of course, yeah. So there's that balancing act, right? There's the one thing is like, you definitely need to sack up, put on the big boy pants, and like just get to freaking work, develop some virtue. At the same time, remember what really matters. Remember that it is about the virtues that you develop for yourself. There's always going to be somebody who's better, right? I mean, in fitness, like that's, I mean, like, look, I don't care. And like we've all been there, right? Where we all get, especially, it's so easy in fitness. It's so easy in fitness, the comparison game with weight lifted or lifts performed or body composition. It's almost impossible not to get into that at first. And it's almost like you kind of like have to get into it and realize it just makes you miserable, so that way you can just finally leave that attitude. It seems like it has to be something that almost like, it's almost valuable to kind of learn it through hard experience, just because like you can say like, yeah, I did that before and I was utterly miserable, and now I realize that I never need to do that again, or should never do that again. And then you can really make it a truly more virtuous activity, and you can look to other people and you can like genuinely admire them, or who are doing great, and they can inspire you. And I think that's kind of the key, to get to this point where you can admire someone and be inspired by someone without falling into that comparison trap. That's tough to do. I'll admit, it's tough to do. Mm-hmm.
It's good on all levels too. For example, back to this course we did last weekend, there were some very fit people, half my age, probably a little older, 25, and they were knocking out some impressive things. And but I was watching them get kind of competitive, probably healthy competitive. I'm not competitive at all. I'm not out to impress anybody. Mm-hmm. I got out of it what I needed to get out of it. Had a good time, learned some new stuff, made some new friends. But I'm really glad we're all on the same page about like, expressing that things don't always go perfect. There's a lot of hard work, a lot of failures, and some good triumphs too along the way. They're all that much more sweet because you've earned it.
Right.
Absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
competition, a good thing. But so it's all about distinctions, right? There's distinctions between competition and falling into the comparison trap. You can be very competitive and you can have a healthy competitive spirit. You just got to watch out.
Don't want to eat you. Oh, this is great, guys. You've given me an hour and a half of your time each. This has been fantastic.
This has been a blast. The big
same
boys
here,
have
boys.
enjoyed this.
Good. Yeah, we should do this again and bring out the instruments.
Dude, yeah, next time let's set it up. Maybe we'll open up with a little tune for the listeners.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Is there any final things you want to cover or bring attention to?
I don't my part, man. This has been a blast. I appreciate you putting this together, Sean. A lot of fun.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate it very much. And I want to give a shout out to both you and Dan John. I've taken stuff from each one of you, inspired by you guys, into the training programs I do. So I enjoy getting your email lists, and the neck mobility has been very helpful, Aleks. And I'm actually using Dan John's 30-30 program, a modification of it for my group classes because it's very easy to coach that way. So it's cool to see you guys and Dan and other fitness professionals putting out great content that helps a lot of people get better and to serve more people. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
much appreciated. That's what it's all about. We're trying to
Mostly
crush
me.
weakness. It's a live long day. It's not easy, but it's got to be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'll have links to Aleks and to Pat, of course. And then I have some notes. I actually do have notes. So I will put those in the show notes. And all you listeners and viewers, thank you for checking out the Engearment podcast, and thanks for the support. Next time I'm going to have these guys on again. Send over some questions so we can pick these brains. And Pat and Aleks, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Sweet, guys. Well, that was fun.
Sweet.